guys, I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and on today's Classic and Vintage episode, I'm going to show you how to make the Ducklings block. You're going to look at it and you're going to think it's intimidating, but I'm going to break it down and make it easy for you. This block is traditionally known as the Duck and Ducklings block, but we shortened it to Ducklings for this tutorial. It does share a resemblance to the Goose Tracks block, and I wonder if the inspiration for this block came from the same place. Today I'm using Sherry and Chelsea fabric, which is Raspberry Summer, and for each block you only need 2 fabrics. The most important thing is that there is a nice contrast between the 2 fabrics. And the trickiest part is going to be the cat's cradle block right here, but I'm going to show you a trick for it. You can download the free block pattern at Fat Quarter Shop, or you can purchase the low price PDF to put this block into 4 quilt size options. Let me show you how to make the block. The first step in making the block is to make the half square triangles that go in the corner. So each of the blocks has 4 of those. You want to make sure this is very accurate because this time you're building your block from the outside in. And if it's crooked on the outside, your block is just going to be a hot mess if you want to know the truth. So you're going to take the fabric A and the fabric H and put those right sides together. From here, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner. That's your center line. Then you're going to draw a line 1/4 inch away from that center line, both directions, and this is what it's going to look like. From here, you're going to sew on both outside lines, and that is what that looks like. We used red thread, but in real life you'll use cream thread. And then you're going to cut on that very center line. And from each of the 2 squares, you end up with 2 half square triangles. I'm going to press that open and then show you how to trim it down. Your half square triangle before it's trimmed comes out to 3 1/8 inches square. We want to trim that down to 3 inches. I'm going to use a Creative Grids 3 1/2 inch square ruler, put the diagonal line on the piece, and make sure I have enough fabric on all 4 sides so when I trim it, it comes out exactly 3 inches. So I'll cut the first 2 sides, rotate. So from here, I put the 3 inch line on the first 2 cuts, trimmed, and that's exactly 3 inches. So you can do that for your block. If you prefer using triangle paper, you can use the triangles on a roll 2 1/2 inch finished size. It's a 3 inch unfinished square, and it will be a 2 1/2 inch finished square. And like I said, you really want this to be nice and accurate because this is the very corner of your block, and each block you're going to make 4 of those. That's the easiest part of this block. Your second step on page 2 is going to be to cut on the diagonal once your fabric B and your fabric G squares. You're going to have 8 red triangles and 4 white triangles. And you can see you're going to be using 8 right here and then 4 right here. The way this pattern is written is these squares are 1/8 inch bigger than you need, so you have room to trim down. If you want more room than that, you can always cut your squares just a little bit bigger if you want to do that. Now you're going to take a half square triangle with your red fabric on the outside. You're going to take 2 red triangles, and then we're going to join these together. The first thing you're going to do is pin this, and you want to line up here and here. You're going to pin, sew with a 1/4 inch seam and press, and then you're going to add this triangle, and you want to make sure this is lined up straight so that when you sew that together, right here, this is a perfect 90-degree angle. From here, the way that we wrote this pattern is you have a little bit of room here to cut. Instead of a 1/4 inch, you actually have 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to cut, and that's going to show you how to get this block exact. So you're going to take a Creative Grids ruler with a 45-degree line and line it up right here on that seam. Then you want to take this 1/4 inch line, which is right here, and hit that point. So you've got this lined up and this lined up, and you're going to trim. And like I said, you have about 1/8 of an inch extra. That's going to give you a really nice straight line. It is biased, but it is straight. From there, you're going to take a large rectangle. You're going to put those right sides together, and you want to center this so that there's a little bit of white outside edges. This is all biased, so you're going to pin and sew with a 1/4 inch seam, and your unit will look like this. And you can see this white is going to get trimmed down. So you'll take a Creative Grids 5 1/2 inch ruler place the ruler on these two sides with the diagonal line. So you'll trim those two sides, and that is how you get a cat's cradle block to come out the exact size without any special rulers. Now, when you're working on a cat's cradle at home, just remember, you can always cut these triangles larger and trim down as you go. You're going to place your 4 units with the white triangle facing the center, and that's going to create a diamond look for you. Then you're going to take fabric C rectangles and place those just like this. And then you're just going to place a fabric K in the center. You're going to sew these with a 1/4 inch seam press, and then sew your last 2 seams, and I'll show you the block. And here's the duckling block. It finishes at 12 inches, and this one you can see the print is more dominant. In this free pattern, we also give you the instructions on making a block with the background more dominant. So you can use either option or both together in a quilt. So this is how the quilt looks when it's laid out with our finishing pattern. Our free block patterns I just showed you, but with your finishing pattern, we give you instructions for a table runner, 2 different lap sizes, and a queen size. And in the layout, you alternate your background blocks with your print blocks. You have 4 patches in the cornerstone to add a little bit of intricacy to the quilt, as if this is not intricate enough. We do show you how to do this strip piecing, so it's real quick. This quilt is made with the Raspberry Summer collection by Sherry and Chelsea, and this background is from the collection. We put a nice navy for our binding and a busy background for our backing. And our quilting, we used a white thread that's very, very light, so it doesn't distract with any of the quilt blocks. So quack, quack, we're done with the Ducklings block. It is a lot easier once you make a couple of them. You'll get in the rhythm. Let me know what you think of this classic and vintage quilt, and I'll see you next time.